What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Clean Libertarian Podcast. Hope you guys are having a fantastic week. Hope you've had a wonderful weekend whenever you're listening to this. I'm just really appreciative that you're here, you're listening, you're tuning in, and let me tell you, you're in for a treat. This is a great episode. This was an awesome conversation that I had with a few buddies of mine. So let me tell you the logic that I had behind this. So right now we are in unprecedented times. You got COVID, vaccinations, Biden, Trump, MAGA, this, that, the third, crazy shit going on left and right. As a father trying to raise a daughter, you may or may not be having difficulty with that. Or, maybe not a daughter or a son. I'm just thinking in terms of myself, like it's tough being a dad during these tumultuous times. And so what I wanted to do was bring on three people who I feel are great examples of raising a family during, these times of pressure. And so that's exactly what I did. I reached out to KRS, Jack, BK, and Evan. Three people who I've gotten to know and love and appreciate. These guys are great examples of what it means to be family men and, stand up for what they believe is right. And that's kind of what this was, man. We just sat down and talked. And this is a lengthier episode, so I need to hurry up and get off here. So without any further ado, here's the guys. Okay, and I am here with three awesome people. First up, we got BK. BK, how are you doing, sir?
Fucking chilling, man.
I'm good, dude. Wonderful to see you. And then next we have Evan. How you doing?
Hanging in, brother. We're here.
Right up. And last but not least, we have KRS, Jack.
The
Jack,
fucking
good
legend,
to see you, buddy.
Yes.
All right. So
how's it going?
It's going great. So here's the thing that I wanted to bring you three guys on to talk about.
Good.
Is that, and we were kind of chatting a little bit before the show. And this is kind of the way that I want the episode to go. But in the last year and a half, what we have seen happen to the family unit, to the control that men have over their homes, to being a father, things have changed. It's a different culture. It's a different world we live in today. And so I know for me personally, I didn't have a whole lot of an idea of what that dad thing looked like. And kind of moving into this day and age, having a young one myself, man, I think we could really lean on each other and learn, like, how do we navigate post-COVID America as upright men, raising families. And so that's how I'm just going to kick it on out there, man. You guys pick it up.
I know, personally speaking, from my end of it, I watch from the outer perspective and the inner perspective. And I noticed from the outer perspective, the society as a whole, whatever you want to call it, that it seems like you have these big pendulum swings one way to the other, and you get where it's, because let's be real, there is some truth to that idea of a patriarchy. Now there's pros and cons to it, and there's, there were societies that were matriarchal, but you see these huge pendulum swings that I don't know that we as humans are intellectually, let alone morally, capable of adopting and adapting these new premises as quickly as the news would like us to do and society would like us to do. And then from the inner side, I know on my end, it's a balancing act, trying to find, those roles, because the traditional gender roles are gone, but there still has to be roles. Yeah. There still has to be roles. So finding who's the better one. And, when you have a situation where two people are in competition versus cooperation, we all know where that leads.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
kind of the thing too, is that, like, at what point, I don't know, man. I don't want to say that, we should just absolutely refrain from any type of idea of progress. But at some point in time, we have to realize that a lot of these things that are being pushed are experimental at this point. We don't know what the hell that's going to mean in the long term. And so as being men, as being fathers, we have this family, like this is a long-term investment for us. This isn't just something that you play with. You don't gamble on your kid. I don't want to gamble on my daughter. Like I want her to have the best possible opportunity moving forward and absolutely live a better life than I have. But trusting society to make those decisions on what.
Man, hey, flat out, fuck that, dude. First and foremost, before we even get started, man, fuck that motherfucker.
No, that's not gonna. Yeah. That's not gonna happen.
No.
I
think. Oh, go ahead.
I count myself as fortunate as far as right now because my sons they're grown, and I tried my best to be consistent and to be fair and to give them and present them as much opportunity as possible, and to try to give them the ability to think and to reason and to look at things.
Man,
those are words of wisdom.
Going to be awesome too.
That's solid words of wisdom too.
Dude, we got to cut this out of the final clip, but I got to turn one of the lights off because it's too goddamn bright in here.
You're good, man.
Fuck off, man.
You're good.
Sorry, guys. I dropped out. It's dropping me out. I'm gonna have to probably shut my camera off. I think I might be. It's probably a problem on my end.
Okay.
But let me try.
We'll be listening.
Do you need us to turn our cameras off too?
All right, there we go. And he's back.
He's back.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna try it again. But
Okay.
I tried to drill into them to reason and to think and to ask questions, and they're doing that. So I don't envy you guys with the younger ones. I really don't. What you're facing right now. I think in all of us right here in this group, we have varying ages in our children. BK has a young little man running around there, and Evan has a couple of young ladies, and then another little one at home, and of all different ages. And it's a challenge right now for you guys, and I don't envy it at all.
I think one of the weirdest things for mine, because the tornado's at 5 right now, just recently. So, if you think in the last, what we had, like 18 months, give or take, of like this shutdown bullshit. So you take 5 years old, subtract a year and a half, man.
Yeah.
So 3.5 to 5, which is usually when you have your kid trying to socialize, trying to interact with other kids, like trying to get out and everything like that. And it's not just that, like the museums, the zoos, the festivals are shut down where you'd usually take them, but it's also like a lot of the other people don't have, they don't want your kids interacting with their kids, or there's not the social settings or anything like that. So I had to sit here and basically for about a year straight, just be like, all right, dude, well, I know you want to go to the park. I know you want to go to the zoo. I want to do this shit too, Betty. But I can't explain it to him because you can't reason, with a 5-year-old like that. So you just got to basically sit back and be like, you know what, buddy? We got to get fucking creative, man. Today, like, we're going to do some shit. And there's a good and there's a bad. There was some like give and take to it. Like, I didn't get all those things. I didn't get the cool stuff that a lot of dads get with their kids, where you get to take them to a ballpark. When they're young, just like chill. Like, I can't take them to hockey games. I can now because it's opening up, but I couldn't for a while when I really wanted to. But I did get to teach the little fucker how to, use a chainsaw, or, he knows how to use power drills. He's got his own toolkit now, and he knows how to build and shit like that. He knows how to fucking cook breakfast. Like if I'm like, yo, hey, little dude, fucking scramble some eggs for your mom. Like, he'll grab he'll grab a chair, fucking throw on a pan, hit the heat, scramble some eggs for her. So like there's give and take. Like, it was cool, but it also, like, I feel bad for him because I know what he's missing out on because I got the chance to do those things. And I remember doing those with my dad. And now, you know, like, and I'm looking at him like there's a weird little point where you hate yourself a little bit for not giving a middle finger to the fucking government or whoever the fuck is saying that you can't do these things so that you can get those memories with your kid, you know. And like, that's the shittiest part. Cause I can remember those things with my dad, you know, like I can remember him being like, we're going to a ball game. We're going, you know, like we're going to a hockey game. We're just going to go do some shit.
But you also have to be there for them. And in today's climate, that middle finger can real easy turn into dad being behind bars.
Right.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's where we're at.
They know they got you by the balls. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know, are you willing over a ball game or a festival, just like you're talking about, PK, to spend some time behind bars while you're, you know what I mean? They know they got you by the balls. That's half the problem.
Well, and I think a lot of that is, I think they're showing it right now too. I think with the, like, you know, you talk about having passes for traveling or anything like that, you know, going to restaurants, shit. Like, they know that they can use your family against you. And that's the terrifying thing. And when they start using that, that's when you kind of sit back and go, all right, you know what, motherfuckers, like, yeah, you do have me right now. Yeah.
And I found that with my kids. PK, similar situation to yours. Mine isn't age related, but my stepdaughter, my youngest, she has a special needs condition. She's got mitochondria. And so she can understand everything, but not the bigger picture, let's say. So same thing. We're trying to explain, here's the reason why we can't go to the Renaissance Festival or we can't go to the park. It's a difficult translation, you know? And, you know, when you talk about having people by the balls with that vaccine passport, I mean, at what point is our line where we say, you know what, I don't care if I have to spend a little time behind bars or do a little different thing at work or make a sacrifice here. That's the problem, is finding that line. And I don't think they know just where that line is and where it isn't. That's my cat's tail, by the way.
That's a good point you brought up. So, like, one of the things I've wanted to do with my daughter is take her on a cruise. That's the big idea that we had. And, you know, we, with the housing market being the way it was, we made out like a bandit on our old house when we kind of upgraded. It was just a great deal. We had the money. No sooner did we start shopping around for rates than did all the every cruise line make a mandate to where children 12 and up have to be vaccinated. You know, and so yeah, man. So, like, you know, that's the thing.
You know, the shit that pisses me off about that is that age demographic is so entirely uninfluenced by this virus that it's like you can't help but think that anyone who is a proponent of anybody under the age of like 25 or 30 getting anywhere near the vaccine has another agenda behind it. That's and like, I hate sounding like a fucking conspiracy theorist, but what the fuck? Like, look at the numbers.
But we're right. But we've been right.
Right. Every time.
Damn it.
I got my fucking tinfoil hat right over here. We're right. We've been right.
Right.
You know, I mean, it sucks. It really does. And that's what was getting at earlier for you guys. It's just, you know, I don't know how I would navigate this. You talk about, if you made the wrong move, you're going to end up in jail. And you're right, Evan. Where's that line at? What do you do? How far do you push it? You know, I've been pushing it on my end myself, but really, basically, my sons are grown, so it's only been affecting me and my wife. If I get, if I get a fine, if I get whatever, I pretty much told her that that's what's going to, so be it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. It's not going to really affect them too much now.
And that's what I find too is my biggest problem.
It's a tough spot, guys. I wished I had some good answers, but I don't.
I would love to be able to say,
it's tough.
Oh, I'm full agorist and I don't, buy into any of the system and I'm, off grid and, I'm a tax avoider or whatever. I'd love to be able to say all that because in principle, I agree with 100% of that.
Yeah.
But the reality is I've got a wife and kids. They know that. They know.
That's right. You have things, you have obligations that have to be met. And unfortunately, that's the situation for most of us. I'm with you. I want to be, I would love to be completely 100%, self-sufficient, but I know that that's not a reality. And so when those people bring those arguments up, it's like, dude, come on, really? Give me a break. I don't want to give you the old reality speech, but this is where I'm at right now. And this is where 99.99% of the people are too. So,
that's a great
give
point.
me something besides fairy tale utopia as an answer.
That's right. That's a great point. Because, Drew, getting back to your question of like, how do you do it in today's day and age? I don't know that there is a way outside of little things that you can do here or there until new system is in place. That's the reality of it. Until a new system is put in place that allows you to go that way legitimately and with support and a community behind you, I don't know if anything's ever going to change.
I just think that, to find ways, BK, like what you're doing right now, you're finding things with, at home for the tornado to do. You're teaching him some stuff. You're teaching him some skills, some practical life stuff. I'm serious. So you're filling in that gap. You're circumventing things, whether you realize it or not. Maybe it's just a little bit. Maybe it doesn't seem like much.
Okay.
But, today you do this, tomorrow you do a little bit more. You try to figure out other ways. And it's like Evan was talking about, it's little steps, and we do all that we can do to circumvent things until something better, hopefully, comes along at some point.
Itself,
And my thing with that, Jack, is BK, what you're doing, right? Yeah. Imagine if there were an entire community of people, of like-minded individuals who thought just like you did.
There you go.
Situations like this cropped up, you have an entire community support, and okay, you can't go watch the Fleetwood Mac concert. Okay, who cares? But the entire community gets together twice weekly and does archery or arts and crafts.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I've gotten to the point now where, the reality is Twitter's bullshit. We all have a good time there.
Speak for yourself. My Twitter is fucking bomb.
I agree with that 100%. But the reality is it's not doing anything in the grand scheme of things to move our goals forward. I really think I don't think there's enough people to compete against the public schools and the media and all the brainwashing to ideologically shift people. No. I think the only thing that's going to happen, it's got to be a geographical shift to get people together. I think that's the only way it can happen.
Well, if you look at it from that perspective, you got to understand, look at the size of our country first and foremost, and then recognize the principles it was built on. At that stage, you got to kind of sit back and think like, everyone in this country, either if you were born here or if you immigrated here, you still have the concept that this is your shit and you can do whatever the fuck you want with it. Yeah. You're not going to bring that country together. I'm sorry. It's not possible because you can't put a room of you could take the four of us right here on this fucking podcast and give one fucking prompt, and we're all going to have a different opinion on it. Yeah. The difference between our country and everyone else's country is that we're allowed to do that, and no one's going to fucking stop us. So we do need to actually honestly think about the fact that, some people are going to group together easier than others. I'm not talking about any fucking difference other than your ideological, listen, do you think this way? Do you, just split it on political lines alone. You say, look, I don't agree with the right. I don't agree with the left. I don't want anything to do with their system. The system hasn't worked for a long fucking time. It really realistically hasn't worked in any of our lifetimes so far. And it's gotten fucking worse. Yeah. And it's gotten considerably worse in the last fucking decade. And, at some point we all got to sit back and go, hey,
and back to the
fucking do our own thing,
Back to things that you can do with your kids. You were talking about BK, talking about all the things that you did and that you're not able to do with tornado right now. And Evan, kind of I think I kind of know where he's going with this. We've talked about this a whole lot. I know where he lives at right now and kind of where I live at right now. We kind of connect with some like-minded people. And so, if you can't take the tornado, if you can't go to a concert, if you can't go to a hockey game, hey, maybe you've got enough people there that you can, like he said, you can figure out some kind of entertainment to do for the kids.
Yeah.
To where they can interact. If you can find enough like-minded people. Now, granted, not everybody has that advantage. I realize everybody.
We'll get him back.
I think I know where he's going with that. And, I think one of the issues we face, and this is a critique of the liberty community, is we are all so damn individualistic that oftentimes we don't take advantage of those opportunities.
I keep getting kicked.
I took over for you, Ferrell.
Oh, Drew, you're going to be in this fucker for like fucking hours.
It's all good, man. Now, okay, so here's another question. So, like in my situation, my kid's mother and I aren't together. So we are having to co-parent right now through this. So you, Evan, I guess this will be more directed towards you. Now, my kid's mom and I, we communicate well. We're on the same page when it comes to obviously the vaccine and, like how are we going to handle, just any kind of mandates that come along. But her grandparents are big time Biden people, so that's kind of one of those things.
Man,
I'm never going to be that guy that's like, she can't have a relationship with the grandparents. It's just crazy to me. But at the same time, especially since her and I aren't in an active relationship, that really limits my ability to put my foot down in a certain regard. Have you encountered that? Is that anything you've had to deal with?
Yeah. Same thing we were talking about earlier, brother, with everything that goes on. And it really gets down to where is the line, right? I'm lucky, my line on the vaccines is my kids aren't getting the vaccine. Not with this one. And so I'm lucky in that on that one, I haven't had to put my foot down. The family support is there. They're all in agreement. We move forward down that path. So again, it's one of those scenarios. What are really all of what we're talking about boils down to, what are you willing to fight for? Number one. And the step above that is, what are you willing to die for? And if you're not willing to even fight for whatever it is that we're talking about, whatever subject it might be, whether it's vaccinations, whether it's a passport, whether it's homeschooling, if you're not willing to fight for that, people can stuff that out. And people who have an ideological agenda then can pounce on it. So it's sad that it has to be that way, but you have to be prepared to fight for every square inch if necessary. In my scenario, like I said, I'm lucky. I haven't had to do that yet on any of this kind of stuff. The one thing that I kind of caved on was homeschool. I really would prefer my kids to be homeschooled, but that isn't really an option right now.
Same here, buddy.
Yeah, and the totality of the situation is, unfortunately, with the 50-50 custody we have and the situation at my ex's, they have a good school district, and it just wouldn't be feasible for her to both stay home and educate them and me pay what I'm paying and all those kind of things that go into that. That's the one thing I kind of had to compromise. If I could do it all over again, and this is another thing this community needs to do, is it needs to get involved in educating people early and maybe specifically even more so men, that the choices that you make when you're 18 or 19 and the partner that you pick are going to affect every single inch of your life for the rest of your life. And you better be able to pick based on morals and character and decisions that are going to affect you 20 years down the road versus how hot she looks in a mini dress whenever you're 18. Hey. I think that's sorely lacking.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. As good as she looked when she was 18, I couldn't.
Yeah, but those mini skirts, man. Those mini skirts will get you. You gotta you gotta be clever, dude.
Thinking with the wrong head, you know what I mean? That's just how it was.
I mean, I'll make fun of some of the big towel guys and the red pill guys, the same as everybody else. But you know what? There's some truth to some of that shit that they spout on YouTube. And I wish that were around when I was,
I did too. I lucked out. I hit the proverbial jackpot. If I had to have somebody like her, my daughter is 12. Her mother and I haven't been together since she was 1. We have never been to court. We have handled everything.
Oh, that's cool,
brother.
Same.
Let me tell you, man. It's just been beautiful.
We don't have a court order for custody. We don't have a court order for child support. We just do it and roll forward.
By God, man, that's the way it needs. That's the way it should be.
Yeah,
right? But we don't live in that world.
Yeah,
that's not the normal situation.
Nope.
It's almost become fashionable for baby mamas to withhold custody. I mean, that's almost a niche in the market. So, like, I'm with you, Evan, when you talk about whether or not this community should really start advocating for more conservative mentality at a younger age when it comes to picking a partner. I think there's value to that.
I think you're right.
There's so many scenarios that the liberty community is, as much as obviously we're all a part of it and we love it and it's our home, there are so many blind spots that we have to outcomes that will affect you at a later date. We are so focused on the here and now. That's the one thing I think that's a huge detriment to the liberty community is its focus on here and now. And we need this, and this is what we're free to do, and all that kind of stuff. There's no forward thinking or at least education on what the possibilities might be down the road that you might have to face. Again, I'll laugh at the Jordan Peterson lobster guys, but you know what? If you actually listen to what he's saying, there's truth to be had there. There's truth to be had.
I think it's something that's easily overlooked a lot, and something that I think people don't pay attention to is that all of the books that we're all quoting and that we all read and that we're all looking at, applying, economics, politics, religion, everything like that. Those motherfuckers were written, 50, 60, 70 years ago. So why the fuck are we spending so much time worried about like the next 2 years, the next 4 years, the next election cycle? Like, why the fuck are we not paying attention to history and not recognizing that, like, they were spot on a long fucking time ago. We got to think long term because that's how it fucking works. That's that's the progression. We can't, dude. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen in 2 years? These motherfuckers got everything so twisted, we're not going to touch it. But look at the overall themes every fucking time, man. They always stand it. And we're not doing a good job of looking forward. And I think we're getting, like, there's a new kind of mentality with just parents in general, not just men, but women also, where there's a movement towards like long term. And I think a lot of it has to do with recognizing that the teachers unions and the public schools are not working for our kids. So we're taking it more on ourselves. We're doing the homeschooling. We're doing like the groups where you get, like you just got friends that you get together and you play, like your kids play with, because we recognize that letting them learn and build their own relationships and their own view of the world versus what they can be told is the same thing as us being told what's going to happen in 2 years versus what's going to happen in 30.
Amen.
We got to fucking teach long-term thinking, man.
I think that's a pendulum swing we were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah.
All those old school values were here, and it was like we threw the baby out with the bathwater in society and went all the way over here. And I think people are starting to recognize, hey, there's some truth to be had there, and it's going to swing back that way. I agree with that. It's really neat to see, especially some of the younger generation, recognize there's wisdom to be had in this old things. Because I know just me being 40 at my age, you almost feel like an outcast when you look back on some of those, older proverbial sayings and idioms and teachers and those kind of things. And it's good to see the younger generation starting to recognize that. Yeah. I agree.
Now, Jack, you are you're the most seasoned among us as far as watching the ebb and flow of culture. How, in your opinion, because I look at history, and granted, like I wasn't there, but like I've never known or heard of a time in history where academia, where culture was so far removed from what a traditional, mentality would be like. Is this new, or is this some shit that's been around forever?
Great question.
Might have lost him.
Did we lose you, Jeff?
I guess kind of where I was going with that is there's,
typical Gen X, man. just listens and then like takes out. It's like, no, I don't want anything to do with this anymore, man. I'm gonna go somewhere else.
I'm out. He said I'm out. But there's value in learning. There's value in learning from the stuff that was written 50 years ago.
There he is. I can hear the crickets when he clicks in, man. That's just
wow. I mean, my gosh, I'm like living in the fucking Stone Ages back here. It's like can't even. Man, I might as well have 2 tin cans and a fucking string. I'll be right back.
When West Virginia Wi-Fi is doing better than Kentucky, we got problems, brother.
See, that's the problem.
Hey, let me tell you something. AT&T fucking sucks.
Yay!
There it is. You've heard it here.
Did you catch his line of question?
You heard it here, folks. Fuck AT&T. There it is.
Hey, AT&T, sell your motherfucking stock in AT&T. Get out.
Get out. You've heard it here. This was financial advice, by God, from Jack himself.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
Jack, I don't know if you heard my question I asked you or not about whether or not have you ever seen culture like academia, media, everything line up against the traditional family unit like it is today? Is this new?
Never. I'm not going to say you can't look back now and not see it coming, but man, there's no way. I couldn't go back 30 years from now, back 30 years and go, hey, this is what all is going to happen. And I would go, yeah, you're nuts. I tell folks all the time that I kind of figured that things will go this way, but I never figured I'd live long enough to see it. And the acceleration that's come along, the how quickly it's ramped up, especially since like, I have 2 lives, my life pre-2001 and my life post-2001. Yeah. And I want to say that 2001, and it's not necessarily a 9/11 reference. There's other things that went on in my life at the same time that really makes everything before kind of irrelevant for me. So since that point, and from 2008, it ramped up. And then from 2008, 2010 to now, it's just gone. It's just skyrocketed. No, I've never seen it line up like this. I mean, you've always had your outliers that have always kind of railed against traditional family, railed against traditional values, however you define that. And I'm kind of tapping into my conservative roots when I use those terms, but I think they're good terms. I'm not, I don't think there's. Hey, that's the way I was raised. I don't think that there's anything really wrong with that. I came from a very stable family. I have a very stable family here. I think there's a formula that works there, and they know this. They have to attack that. Look, man, what we're seeing right now is an attack. They're trying to put the death blow on something they've been working on for a century. Yep. And now the masks are off. Now they've drawn blood, and now they're going for the kill. You can go back. You can go all the way back. You can go to the 50s. You can go to the 60s. You can see the attack on the family starting then. That's when your divorce rate started to climb. That's when, and there's just a lot of things, and it's culminated to this moment. Yeah. So that's my thoughts. Now, no, I've never seen anything like this. But there's always, like I said, there's always little moments. It's like
parts of it here,
little parts of it. If you go back to, and I don't want to be controversial, but if you go back to, man, I try not to be controversial because I don't want to deal with any damn drama. I don't need it. I don't care about it. So, but if you go back, like I said, to the 60s and the 70s, wherever you land on abortion, for me, for someone who thinks the way that I do or believes the way that I do, I see that as an affront. I see that as one of those steps that they took toward that family unit structure. Sure. They took the father out. Now they attack so I think it's just been a very calculated thing, and they know they're not stupid. That's why it's called progressivism. It's a little bites at a time. They knew back in the early part of the 20th century that they couldn't come full on. They knew in the 50s they couldn't come full on, and they just kept ramping it up, and so here we are right now, and it's working. It's working. I mean, we're all stressed and strained, and like I said, I go back to once again, I don't envy you guys that have the young ones that are coming up. I don't envy what my children are going to face the next 20, 30 years after I'm gone. I don't know what my grandchildren, I don't know what this is going to look like when my grandkids come along. If I ever have grandkids, I don't know what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
So, because, hey, let me tell you something. With my sons, the dating pool's not looking that great because they're all like, yeah, Dad, it's kind of nuts out there and they've been burnt before. And it's just like, it's sad. It's a sad
sad
could
thing. You imagine trying to be
even for my boys, my
like it would be in that age.
I mean, my youngest will be 20 this weekend.
No.
I don't think you could I personally I wouldn't wish it on anyone, man. Trying to date right now, Jesus, the questions
no.
I mean, what were the questions that we got when we were kids? Like, hey, have you ever jumped off this bridge? Or how many times you've been arrested? Or what's the best car you've ever stolen?
Yeah.
I don't care. The questions aside, but it wasn't serious shit. But now you got these kids growing up, and they got to ask these questions because it's been drilled into them so hard. Like, yo, what are your pronouns? What are your all of that sort of stuff? Like, there's so much pressure on these kids now, and I look at it I'm Tuck, you're saying that you're lucky that you don't have to worry about little kids right now. I'm glad actually that it happened when my son's young, because at least now I know it's already happened. Yeah. So I can talk to him about it.
Yeah, that's true.
As he gets,
you've got a point.
When he gets to those stages where I look at him, I'm like, all right, dude, you got an understanding of this situation. I'm going to give you some details. Let's sit down and have a fucking talk.
Yeah.
And now that I know where everyone else is coming from and the direction that everything's going. Now, I don't know if it's right or wrong. We've been lied to for so fucking long now that it's really difficult to say, hey, this is legitimately what is happening. So you got to sit back and kind of just chill the fuck out, smoke a fucking joint, look around. I mean, not you, Drew, but you get what you know where I'm coming from.
Nobody need that, right?
I mean, just metaphorically, everyone metaphorically smoke a fucking joint, put on some fucking Netflix, and sit back and realize that we need to chill out. Because we need to teach these kids that are growing up in this situation not to be fucking crazy, not to be overreactive, not to be judgmental, not to be fucking just batshit fucking Karens across the board. Let's sit back and just be like, hey, listen, shit's fucking weird right now. And that's I tell my kid, I'm like, yeah, dude, you got to fucking wear a mask here. I don't know why. It's fucked up. I don't know what to tell you. I've got no answers. This is just the shit of it.
Yeah. BK, going back to what we were talking about earlier, I almost think I'll put on my tinfoil hat for a minute, right? When you were talking about earlier about
yes,
that, focus on
Team
right now,
tinfoil.
Right? Yes. So I actually think that half the politics shit and all the shit that we get all riled up on over Twitter is a distraction. Purposely set in there.
You're fucking A right.
Yeah, from focusing on the long-term shit, right? Just like what you're talking about.
Yes.
Chill out. Let's chill out and let's build something that will last. Because these people that are coming after us, they're not thinking about 2 years. They're not thinking about 4 years. They're thinking about 40 generations down the road, right?
Yeah.
Well, why aren't we thinking about that? Because we're screaming up in arms about, Joe left, millions of dollars for the Taliban. Well, you know what? Everybody's left millions of dollars. And, it's a drop in the bucket. Let's build. The only way out of this is to build a community that will last. And instead, we're arguing about age of consent laws online and all the other bullshit that we argue.
Drew, I wish I had your reaction to the fucking GIF right now, man, because that shit, I would use that shit every day of the fucking week.
I told somebody on the Bird app today about all this, and I'm like, I went through went through some stuff and like all this shit, all this fucking drama and stuff. And we got bigger fucking fish to fry than a lot of this shit. I mean, we are wasting so much energy on this, and that's what they want, man. That's what they want. It's a divide and conquer. It's a divide and conquer strategy. If they can keep us going at each other, and if they can keep us distracted, then we can't unify to go against the real enemy, which is right up there. Yeah. You know, it's old. It's an old tactic, and you know, people fall for it. And it's like, hey, you know, it's like I told David Hogg on there, and I don't know where he reads it, and I don't really give a shit, but it's like, you're almost there, son. We got more in common than you think we do. You really do. I'm going to win that kid over. I'm going to tell him he's a fucktard so much, but I'm also going to come back at him, and I'm also going to go, dude, you are almost there. You are almost there. Man, I can talk to anybody. And I'm like, you're almost there. There's so much that we have so much more in common than we have against each other. And if we could just realize that, we could unify, and we could look, we're not all going to all agree on the same solutions, but we need to make them see that the true enemy, the true, you know, the true opposition is not my neighbor down the road who votes different than me. It's you know, a few hours away east of here. That, you know, and that's yeah. I mean, and that's what I've made my sons understand, because they've been listening to my rants since they were old enough to really know what was going on. And you can call it indoctrination. You can call it indoctrination. I don't give a fuck what you call it. That's what I've been doing ever since they were big enough. Right. Yeah, it's like, you know, this. I was like, boys, you see this right here? This is the bullshit that you got to avoid. That's it.
Well, you verified it for me by saying, you know, like it has never gone this far. So like where that leads me to next is how we behave today, even with you, Jack, how you explain these things to your children, BK, Evan, myself. This will be something that the next generation will carry forward. So whatever the next thing that happens, because it's like I was telling you, Jack, is that oppression's nothing new. This shit's been around forever. People have been oppressed since the dawn of time. If government exists, there's oppression. That's just the way that it fucking is, unfortunately. So does that mean we cease being a family unit? No, that just means we rise to the challenge. You know, so how we behave currently, how we raise our children today, and how we guide and direct our children when they moved out of our house and are setting off on their own life, that's going to determine how that next generation is able to handle it. You know, keep these fucks going back to the drawing board. I think that's the way we win, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think you said the key word there, Drew, is how we behave and how we raise them, right? Listen, talking to our kids, obviously, without saying and explaining things is huge. They need that information. They need to understand things on, you know, a cerebral level.
Okay, right? I'm back.
But if we don't also implement that and give them an example of why it's important to behave that way, then it's going to go in one ear and out the other. I mean, maybe when they get older, they might come around, but unless you're showing an example of why that works and why those, like we were talking about earlier, why those old school philosophies and ways of being, why they work, then what the hell good does explaining anything to them do?
That's true. Right.
Example is every bit, if not more important than just explanation and philosophy and ideology, you know? And that goes for the kids, that goes for the community, that goes for everything we're trying to do.
I agree. And I think that, because I'm trying to think, because we're all under the agreement that we do our families no good by going out and not being the gray man, like going out and causing a whole bunch of fucking trouble, going to jail, getting shot, being a statistic, being a headline for 5 seconds and forgotten into the dust of time. We serve a much stronger position by being present, being in our families' lives. That, I think, is something we all agree on. However, when it comes to forcing vaccines, when it comes to making our children put an experimental substance in their body, that feels like the line for me. What do y'all think?
Yeah. Oh, it does for me too. I mean, it would for me if I had, you know, of course, all my sons are above that consent age where, you know, if they choose to do that, then if they come and ask old dad, I'm going to try to, do my best to try to get them to avoid it. But, my wife's going to have to take it eventually. I mean, she works in medical field, and unless something changes drastically, I mean, she's going to have to.
Right.
My thing is to hold to your principles and hold to the principles that you put forward, that you preach, and accentuate how important that is, that they carry those principles forward. You be your own person, and don't you worry about any outside influence. If you can find a way to around it, if you can find a way to avoid it, if you can find a way to handle these situations in a way that doesn't compromise your principles, then go that route. But sometimes, and it's difficult, but sometimes, our principles, as good as they are, sometimes it's just not enough. And we live in the real world. So, we can talk about principles all we want to, but when it comes time to making decisions about jobs or about school or whatever else, but my main thing is not to let anyone, not think for yourself, and not to let anyone outside influences influence you or pressure you into something that you don't want to do. And look, I'm all for choice. If Evan wants to take the vaccine, I'm not gonna hit on him because he did. I don't expect the same respect back, and I want my boys to be the same way. Yeah, I'll hit on him. I've already hit on him, motherfucker. Why do you think I drove 8 hours? Look at that sissy bit.
I couldn't stop that one. That shit just came out, dude. I'm sorry.
You know what? That's actually a really.
I love
it. Point. That's really an interesting point, brother. And I love you too, because the whole thing with it is we got to show the people that we're raising that at the bare minimum, not only are we willing to sacrifice where possible, obviously, feasibly. We have to show them we're willing to sacrifice for our principles, but we also have to show them the example of why those principles are good. What good does it do me to talk to my 14-year-old daughter about her not needing a vax if I'm sitting around eating cake, for 13 hours a day, no exercise, smoking 2 packs a day, and drinking booze all day? That does no good whatsoever. Matter of fact, it will turn her the other way. So. We have to be examples.
You just nailed 2/3 of my diet right there.
Yeah. Look, man, you are really getting personal. You're really getting personal with it. You hit me all around. I'm hurt.
I don't know. You're not wrong, man.
Now I'm going to have to go get more cake to heal my feelings.
I keep the cake in its secret little drawer.
I kind of look at it like, all right, you can try and force it if you want, and they're going to. Yeah. And you know what, to a certain extent, what bothers me the most about it is that I genuinely understand why people are afraid of this virus. Sure. Because no one's been told the truth about it, so everyone's scared, and that was kind of the theme. So when I see people get really adamant about getting a vaccine or like get angry and upset about people not getting it, I kind of sit back and just go, you know what? Hey, fuck it. I get it. Like I don't agree, but fucking hell, like I'd be scared shitless too. And if I was someone, if I was in an at-risk group, or, like if the people that I lived with were immunocompromised, I would fucking be violent about it.
Yeah.
But any fucking moment
100%.
where you
sit
back and say, I'm going to come and I'm going to stick something in you, or I'm going to come and I'm going to put something in your child's body, I go, no, motherfucker, like that. No, you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's it.
Yeah, that's
like,
not happening.
Right.
I'm
totally cool. And my son's vaccinated, I'm vaccinated, my wife's vaccinated. I just didn't get the COVID one. Neither did my son. Neither did my, like, that's it. Like, it's not a vaccination aspect. We're not talking about if you're fucking cool with vaccinations by any stretch of the imagination. What you're looking at now is saying, no, like, you don't have the right over the health of my child. Like, he's my responsibility. And when I take responsibility for something, that means it's mine. You don't get a fucking say in it. You don't get to talk about him, about what he learns in school without my consent. Like, you're going to fucking tell me if he's there. You don't get to do any medical procedures on him without my fucking consent. You don't get this shit because this is my kid, not yours.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. You're 100% spot on.
All these systems that are in place, unfortunately, like I said, until there's an alternative system that's legitimate and considered legal, which there may never be, to be honest, but until there's an alternative system, right, they know that people's fear and people's need to be in charge of other people and have them live the same way as them will override anybody else's desire to want to allow people to have that freedom to choose. We have got to focus on building an alternative system to this one, because it funnels you right up the top, where it becomes, you're either going to do what we say and we will give you access to this, or if you decide you don't agree with us, you're gone. Whether it's social media, whether it's healthcare, whether it's travel, whatever it might be. I mean, this is almost like, and again, Drew, you mentioned this in the beginning. This shit's been going on for millennia, right? The Babylonian priests withheld their knowledge from the lay people unless you worship them or worship whatever they wanted you to. It's the same shit. It's the same shit.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Jack.
No, what I had to say actually didn't really add anything to the conversation, but other than just to add to what you said, and I mention this all the time. I mention this to people all the time, especially when we talk about, man's nature hasn't changed. Our technology changes, and thank goodness, our medical technology has advanced, and nobody wants to look. Everybody talks about, hey, I want to go back to the 1800s. I want to go back and live in a cabin. Look, nobody wants that shit, really, because we got good medicine. We do have good medicine right now. I thank goodness for what we have right now. We've made so many advances, but the thing about it is, with all of our technology and all the things that we have and all of our advances, man, it's still the same, still has the same nature. And you still have that nature of one group wanting to push their will on another group. Yep. And then you have outliers, like I would include myself, that would be like, oh yeah, no, not going to do that. Yeah. We're very few and far between. The majority are the ones that are like, well, okay, I want to go into the temple, so I'm going to do this penance and do this so that I can go in and worship. And it's the same thing. Oh, well, I want to go to the basketball game, so I got to get vaccinated. I want to go on this plane so I can go to Ireland for vacation, so I'm going to get vaccinated. And me, myself, well, I'm one of those outliers, and I think there's a few of us that are like, yeah, you know what? I wanted to go to Ireland, but I'm good. I can stay at home. But it's
Go ahead, Jack. I'm sorry.
Hey,
no, I'm
this is great when everyone's like, "Yo, wait, you got you." Is it like what's that fucking movie with Will Ferrell and the short little fucking other dude that was on SNL where they dressed in the suits and they did that?
Night the Roxbury.
Night the Roxbury. Come on, I forget. It's not at the Roxbury for you 12-year-olds.
Yeah, well, all right, there we go. That's it.
But Jack, you bring up an interesting point there, brother, because when it comes to shit like travel and concerts and all that stuff, right? I could give a shit less. And I'm lucky that my kids pretty much think the same way. Like obviously my younger ones don't really, that's not a part of their world yet. But for my 14-year-old, the way she thinks about things, and I'm lucky, the way she is, that's not really a concern of hers right now. She's fine with, until this vaccine is tested more thoroughly, she's in an absolutely non-dangerous group at all. I mean, her chance of having any problems at all, even being symptomatic, is next to nothing, right? But there's going to come a point in time, I believe, where people who don't, for instance, get vaccinated or whatever it is that they want you to fall in line for are going to be denied basic medical care, if not the ability to even buy food or supplies that you need. So exactly. So it's going to be incrementally worse and worse and worse, to the point where, at what point is the line in the sand going to be drawn?
I'm with you on that. I don't know what that is. I would have thought we would have reached that point by now. To be honest, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to sit here and say that, hey, I'm ready to go. Let's get this started. But I sit back every day and I'm amazed. I'm like, when I see new stuff come up, it's like, how did we get here? How did we allow this to get this far? And, you look over into other countries where they're just storming the streets, and you got people going into grocery stores, charging over security guards, and people getting beat up because they want to, they've been told they can't go in the shop and they want to go in the shop. And we're sitting here like, because we're all too damn comfortable.
The French have more balls than
that's
we do.
Just my, we have not reached a point. We have not reached a point of being uncomfortable enough to get off of our asses and, move.
Yep. That's 100% true.
We just haven't. And you're absolutely right. We're going to come to that point to where they're going to say, oh, they're going to do it in increments. They're going to start with these things, these extracurricular things, these games, these concerts, all this stuff. And we outliers, which there's a lot of us, in that point, go, well, okay, screw it. I don't care if I don't go to a, basketball game, football game, concert, whatever. I can live without it. I can live without traveling. But then you get to that point, like you said, where it's like, well, you can't go and you can't buy food without this.
Yep.
When we start getting to that point, I think we're going to start seeing some things that might be a little different than what we're seeing right now. I think we're going to see some different reactions.
Is why the geographic consolidation might be the most important thing at this point. I just don't see how. I don't see how, as diluted as we are. I mean, let's face facts, right? Whether you vote or don't vote, regardless, just using the Libertarian Party as a game, right? It got 1.2, 1.3% last year in the national election. Okay. So even being generous, let's say 5% of the population basically kind of aligns with our line of thinking, right? What good does 5% do diluted across 330 million people? But you get that 5% and you put them in one area, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to take to get all of us to actually do something like that. And I'm worried that to get us to do something like that, it's going to be past the point of no return.
You're talking about if you could do that, if you could put 5% in one area, you're talking everything from city council. You're talking everything from the damn dumpster driver, the dump truck driver, all the way up to the sheriff being in line with the idea of liberty.
Go a step further, brother. If you could, I mean, look, I hate the Democrats. I hate the Republicans. But pick wherever you wanted to go with that. You get 5% consolidated in one area. You're running that state. That's the reality of it. You're running that state, okay? They're going to be beholden to your chunk of voting. I mean, 5% is what, 16 million people? You get 16 million people consolidated in one state, you own that state.
You're not wrong, man. You're not wrong.
But here we are, and God love us all, but here we are. None of us are neighbors. And that's the shame about it. What's it going to take for us to become neighbors?
I'm going to have to make enough money to move the baby mama out wherever I go. I might be able to get the wife on board, but I mean, that.
And they know that.
And I want to go back to, Evan, to your point there about the communities, about the state, about what, we can start, but we can do that on small levels.
Yes.
Like you're doing, like
right.
I'm doing, like you're doing, like I'm doing.
Right.
I guys, sometimes it's hard for me to relate where I live at. It's hard for me to relate to a lot of the problems that maybe some face about with their neighbors and things. I got guys that live here, right here within sight of my house that we're on the same page. So like if we wanted to get together and wanted to do something community wise or whatever, we're all pretty much on the same page here. And so it's hard for me. My thing is to source in your community right now. Find those people in your community that are like-minded right now. Make those connections. Those will help with your children too. That's what this whole thing is about how we deal with things with our kids right now during these uncharted times that we're in. Find those like-minded people and grow them small, and this stuff like that's not going to happen overnight. It's just not. It takes
you gotta
work.
work at those, dude. You gotta work at
really
those
does.
relationships. You gotta work with your neighbors.
Yeah.
You gotta get to know them.
You
You gotta
sure
be
do.
comfortable and be like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna help you out. You help me out.
Yeah.
And through this whole thing.
Yeah. And you're not going to. Yeah.
We got just enough of.
You're not going to agree on everything, but find the things that you can agree on.
Right. Work together. And there's just enough delay where if I say one sentence, you hear it right when I'm done. After I'm done saying it.
Yeah,
again.
I know.
So, and then you start talking, and then we start talking again, and then we both stop at the same time. And it's just really fucking throwing me off because I'm kind of.
We need Drew to cue us. Okay, all right, you. All right, he's
Drew,
done.
You need to get some fucking hand signs up or flags like the dudes on the fucking airports. Let's bring it in. We're gonna need one fucking flag up here. All right, Evan, you fucking talk this way. This is Jason. Stop. Do the fucking this. DK, get the fucking way out of it. I mean, for fuck's sake. We really got to work on this shit because I'm not going to lie. I'm not fucking anything but high right now. So when it throws, when the timing's off, I'm just like, man, fuck. Did I just hear an echo? Or was that what was actually said? What the fuck are we talking about? And when do we get a pee break? I don't know. Just fucking hit me with some shit. Well, you're the professional, Drew. You're the goddamn professional. Fucking lead us through this goddamn thing.
All right,
Jesus
gentlemen.
Fucking Christ, man. Letting us talk all the time instead of fucking taking control. Motherfucker. And furthermore.
Yes.
I love it, man. We could do a whole fucking hour just that.
Dude, what? Just me fucking bitching? Jesus Christ, that'd be fucking miserable. Dude, all right, so I do want to actually, funny that you mentioned that. I want to tell you a funny fucking story about being a parent and dealing with other parents when you don't care what the fuck the other parents think about you.
Yeah.
All right. So my kid goes to, and this is weird. I'm pretty sure that you guys are all familiar. I'm not religious by any means, right? But we take the tornado over to a church a couple blocks away that has a group, kids go run around, play in the playgrounds. They do little shit like that. It's 3 hours worth of what you could say daycare sort of school. It's just a fucking hangout with kids basically thing. Super cool. And, it was funny because my mom was like, you're sending your kid to a church, you're an atheist. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't give a fuck. Religion's cool. I don't care. What are they going to do? The worst thing they can do is teach them about a pretty cool story and a dude that is just be a fucking awesome. So like, like it's one of the weird things about it where, like I learn because I don't give a shit. So if someone teaches my son about like Jesus or Allah or any of the other religions, but it teaches them in a good way, I'm like, all right, whatever, dude. You just heard a good story about a good person doing a good thing. Fuck it. I don't care. You form your own opinions. So take him over there, drop him off. And I totally fucking just forgot the story I was about to tell. Son of a bitch. Dude, fucking edit that out. Man, don't let that one fucking ride too long.
Okay, so you're...
about? Fuck, hey, someone hit me with
God damn, made me lose Jack.
That drop, dude, that's great.
This is going off the rails.
Great.
I love it. I'm so glad
dude, this is where it should have been to begin with. We started too serious, man. We should have fucked around for a couple hours because like now I feel like I'm like, oh shit, I should just say something really fucking important and deep, but all the fuck I'm thinking about is like, man, my wife fucking hit me with a spatula earlier because I was being a jackass. And like, how the fuck are you gonna like, you can't go from serious to like, yeah, fuck it, man, I earned it though. Like, she wasn't wrong.
BK, I got a question for you, brother. I'm curious. BK, when you run into like other parents and stuff with like the vax stuff, do you find a lot of pushback on your end with that? What are your feelings on that scenario?
Dude, to be honest with you, I make it very clear with other parents when I communicate with them. Like if they ask me a question about childcare or anything like that, I make it very clear that I don't give a fuck what they care or think beforehand, and then I tell them what's up. So I'll be like say someone asks like, well, how do you address such and such a situation? If it's anything that I feel is more adult in nature, just like why would I discuss that with my son? He's a kid.
Amen.
Amen. Like he doesn't need that shit. Why the fuck are you putting on that on him? He doesn't know. He has no concept of race, religion, sexuality, politics. What the fuck else am I missing?
No, I agree, brother.
You're hitting it.
Like, so he doesn't fucking know it. So why would I tell him? Like, dude, you know what? Fuck it. He's like the beautiful thing about it, and like what I love is I look at that kid and I'm like, you know what, dude, you've got another like maybe 3, 4, 5 years somewhere around there until you actually have to recognize how this world works. But until then, you don't have to do that. So there is no fucking reason for me to put that shit on you. I don't give a fuck, man. I'm not telling you about anything. I'm going to teach you how shit works. I'm going to teach you how to grow some shit in the garden. I'm going to teach you how to fucking train a dog. I'm going to teach you how to cook some food. That's it. And then the rest of the shit, man, when you're old enough and you recognize it, fuck it. Then you do it.
Then we can get into it. Yeah. Amen. Because you know what? I agree with you 100%. But I feel like sometimes, honestly, like I'm on an island with that. Like my oldest is 14, right? And then I got my middle child who's 8. And then like you guys know, I got my stepdaughter who's 7. But like I said, she's got her own thing going on, right? But with my middle one, when she's 8, I know like she starts coming home and she'll ask questions that you can tell were like programmed into her.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm the only asshole on the block who's saying like, baby, look, we're all one race. We're all, like people believe different things about God. Some people don't believe in God at all. Like I feel like I'm the only person who's not forcing some kind of thing on her. But in a weird way, it's almost like I feel like in certain situations, I want to explain to her everything that you're being taught is indoctrination. There is no 100% hard and fast objective. This is how it is. This is correct. And so I'm trying to explain to her, like, you got to keep your mind open. But I feel like I'm the only lunatic left who's doing that.
No, I mean,
don't
I'm
sell
doing
yourself
it
short,
too.
man. You're not the only lunatic.
Yeah, I'm doing it too. I think the best thing that I've done in terms of, it's like BK, you were saying, like your kid doesn't need to know about race and all this other shit like right now, because that's not ingrained. That's not, my daughter is still young enough to where like that racial prejudice shit shouldn't even be mentioned at all because she wouldn't know any better otherwise. So I keep the fucking news off.
Yeah.
You know, do the
that's
best
a
I
good one.
can with
That's
that.
right. Yep.
Because that.
How old's your daughter, Drew?
She's 12.
12.
So
That's
she's
like that's
just now getting into that point. You know what I mean?
perfect. That's
Yeah,
just what I was going to get at. My 14-year-old, right when she hit about 12, 13, is when I could tell she started bringing this stuff home from school. It was like, okay, what are we getting at here?
That's some shit. That's what I've been wondering. Like, I'm kind of watching and waiting when the tornado goes off to that group, just to see if there's any like phrases that I know he picks up. You know, just and it's a weird thing because you know, like once again, like earlier I was talking about how you can understand how people are scared or nervous about all the bullshit that's going on right now. Well, it's also really easy for people to get like teachers, educators, and parents to encourage the like trying to get kids to understand these complex ideas early on. Because you're like, you know what, the easier it is if they grow up with it, the better it's going to be. Like you're going to be more accepting to it. My concern is that it's not the right message.
Yeah.
Do you like you guys get what I'm saying? So like,
100%.
it's not necessarily that you can't talk to kids about this shit.
Yeah.
What concerns me is like, how are you delivering the message? It doesn't even necessarily need to be the message, but how are you delivering it? Is it in a structured, organized, like mind-numbing setting where the kids are not being educated so much as they're being told versus a situation where they're learning and growing with what they, you know, like what they hear and what they see and what they do. And those lessons are being applied while they're doing something else, you know? So like the way they're taught, like, I don't want to use the term indoctrination, but at this stage, it's kind of fucking like legitimate. And you know, and then once again, like I don't want the fucking, like my feds are working overtime right now anyway. So like I don't want to get them any more in trouble with their bosses. Like I know that they're really relying on this shit. And Carl, I know you're listening, motherfucker. Like, dude, I know you're doing that shit.
No,
Carl's cool as fuck, man. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, he's really good at his job. He's sweet as fuck. But the fact is like, we got to really more focus on like, we are too fucking connected, and everything about what we're being told, what we're made to think, shit like that. It's programmed and it seems like it's written. And if we can fight it all the fuck we want, but the biggest thing we can do is look at our kids and be like, don't think like I thought, because I was raised in this shit and I recognized that it was wrong. And now you're like, so I'm going to be the first one to get through. Like I got fucked because of this shit. Like these motherfuckers are good. They researched this shit. They did it right. Fuck, they're bitches. You're better. Yeah. And I'm going to do this for you. And I'm going to make sure that you know the mistakes that I made because I didn't recognize them. That's it. Yeah. I'm done. I'm preaching. I got to go piss though. So don't you fuckers go anywhere.
Go for it, man.
All right. Don't fall in.
BK brings up a great. Can you guys all see me, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do a stupid thing. So with that, like indoctrination thing, right? I agree with him 100%. And you know, the question becomes, if you don't agree with the indoctrination, how do you deal with that? And to me, it's almost like there's two options. Either you try to show that, whether it's your kid, whether it's the next generation, whoever it might be, you try to show them, look, this is how they're trying to indoctrinate you, and this is why. Or you end up falling into that same trap of, I'm going to indoctrinate you, but I'm going to indoctrinate you my way. And I've tried so hard to avoid that with my kids. And I think that's a lot of what's missing is, you know, I don't know that we've found at this point the best path forward to avoid indoctrination, but show the best example of why it is indoctrination.
Yeah, I that's a tough one, because I mentioned that earlier because, I talked about drilling my sons, not inadvertently, not directly, but indirectly. And it's difficult to avoid it.
Fine line.
Where is that? Very fine line. That's exactly what I was fixing to say. It's a very fine line. I just drilled into them to just question every single thing that they're being told. Yep. And if they have any questions to come to me, I may not be the best source, or to come to their mother. And they did that. And, I got 3 independent, they question me constantly, which can be good and bad all at the same time. It's a good thing, and I'm proud of them. And there's times as a father, it's like, are you questioning me? But it's a proud moment when they do that too, because I raised 3 independent thinkers, and they would come home. Look, this didn't start overnight. I've got my oldest graduated in 2015, and my twins, my youngest, graduated in 2019. So they were in that. So they would come home with these things, and I'd be like, they said, what now? Yeah. And so I'd be like, you need to question those things and not take everything on face value, guys. I never drilled them to go, this is how you got to think. This is the way that you need to be, but to think.
Can I ask you a question, Jack?
Yeah.
Did you notice a difference personality-wise when you applied the same method to your kids? Did you notice the difference between the kids' responses based on their personality?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes. 100%. Because, we're all individuals, so they all have to be handled in a different way. And I've got one that, man, he's just one of my twins. He is just, he's on it. I mean, he when he was little, he would look at stuff and go, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Right. He would question stuff all the time. And he would look at people. He would look at people sometimes and their actions and what they did, and he would just be like, "Wow, that's off the rails." And the other two kind of tried to more fit in a little bit more, but still, they're very 3 independent-minded and very different personalities. And I always told them, I'm like, I don't care. And I don't try to make this political, but I was like, I don't care what your political leanings end up to be. I really don't, because I raised them to be their own people.
Yeah.
But just whatever you're being fed, question it, because I didn't. Okay. Yeah. I didn't. I go right back to BK's point that he was making there earlier. I bought into the crap, a lot. And, I was an adult, well into my adulthood, before I was like, holy cow. What we were told, and what we were taught, and what we were told how things were, that's not what I'm seeing. Yeah. And so I tried to get them on that early, especially after the twins were born. And that was that 2001 moment. That was that moment that was like, okay, things are different now, and don't buy into the bullshit, because like I did.
You met my 14-year-old when you were here. And so she's from day one. She's been cerebral. Everything is questions.
She's the brains of the outfit. I've noticed that.
100%. 100%. Yep. She keeps my ass in line, right? 100%. But my age,
she's the mother hen of the whole thing. So
100%. Yep, bingo. Now my 8-year-old it has nothing to do with intelligence. My 8-year-old is intelligent. She's extremely smart. She's a smart girl, right?
Yes.
But she's more of I get told this is what it is until something gets proven wrong. So I struggle with her where as much as she is impressionable, and the almost the natural reaction is to say, listen, hon, this is the truth. This is what it is. I also don't want to program her because I know, look, we're all human and we're not all going to live up to that, ideal and that ideology. So I almost want to make sure that she follows the same path of questioning versus just trusting what I say. And it's difficult.
Yes. That might be the trick right there is instead of trying to step out and I don't want to say force because none of us are forcing ideas on children, obviously. But Jack, I mean, you kind of nailed it on the head where you only taught just question the things, be whoever you're going to be, but let them come to that conclusion on their own. It's like, remember that movie Inception where the idea didn't take hold of the person out of it themselves? I hate to be like kitschy like that.
Yep.
But
right.
I think that's because that's the way I fucking learned. I promise you it is. Like if you tell, I'll never forget, right? My dad, the first outside of the house, he welded on a new faucet, right? On a spigot on the outside of the house. And he said, that's hot. Don't touch it. I was like 5. I instantly grabbed that motherfucker and burned the shit out of my hand. But just because you said don't, but that's me to a T, Now, if that would have been, hey, maybe don't do that because it's hot, let the little bit open in. There's a chance I probably would have done that. But I think maybe that's the way that we approach a lot of this stuff going on now.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Like that's what I tell the tornado all the time, man.
Look.
Is never like I don't tell him not to do shit. What I do is I just look at him. I'm like, hey, listen, man. Yeah. If you keep doing that, this is what's going to happen.
Yep.
Okay. Like it's your choice. It's your decision. You fucking do what you want to do. But I guarantee you that when you fucking keep doing that, it's going to hurt. And that's what I tell him every fucking time. I'm like, you know what? Bad decision, dude, but go with it. And you know what? That little fucker has picked up on shit quicker than most other kids because he does not fuck with stuff anymore. He knows now, he picks up knives proper, always by the handle, it's shit like that. He doesn't, he's got his little toy Nerf guns. He's got trigger discipline and doesn't point them at people, shit like that. Those little things, he just does them now. And it's not because I was like, no, don't do it. I was like, yo, dude, that's going to fucking end poorly. So don't fucking, don't, it's a fucking bad idea, man. Just bad idea.
My old man was a pilot.
Yeah.
Growing up, he had all kinds of new technology and stuff. He had laser discs before it was even a thing. He had thing, right? So
I remember that.
Right.
To touch the buttons, you actually had to use the knuckle on your finger to touch it, right? So we weren't allowed to touch anything, to play with anything. Well, why the hell do you think I became a construction worker? I wanted to rip shit apart. So I think that when you no, you can't. Yeah. As far as our team goes, that's what I'm doing.
I'll tell you what, though, I don't think that me and my little brother ever got a legitimate ass whooping like the time we tore apart my mom's microwave. It was back in the fucking late 80s, dude. All right, so this is the deal. I think I was like,
and it was as big as a console television.
Yeah, oh man, those motherfuckers! If you actually they're the same size as the fucking
weigh 300 fucking pounds.
TVs. Sweet Jesus, and those fuckers are heavy too. All right, so listen. Me and my little brother, and this will tie into the parenting thing because my dad's reaction was just about fucking perfect on the whole thing. All right, so my mom's like, hey, listen, I'm going to go next door to hang out, because she was friends with the next door neighbor. It's same age kids, we were friends with their, their kids, shit like that. It was great. She's like, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to hang out. My guess is she was probably getting drunk. And then she came back, played it off like she wasn't. Because that's what I'd fucking do. Right? Yep. So she takes her ass over there. And me and my little brother are just chilling. and we made some fucking pizza bagels. It was pizza bagels because you remember those like shitty ass rubber pizza bagels you used to get when you were a kid, and they came in the fucking square.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Right, so we made some of those fuckers, and I ate the ones on the inside.
Filled with lava.
Right. I ate the ones on the inside because they were the good ones, and my brother got the corner ones because they were shitty. And I'm like, "Fuck you, dude! You're a piece of shit, and I don't like you." So then we started looking at it, and this is why you can't trust my little brother, because the fucking bastard's like, "Dude, how does a microwave work?" And I'm looking at this fucking 6-year-old. Going like, that's a goddamn good fucking question. Let's fucking figure this shit out. Like, I've had enough. We know where the fucking tools are. This motherfucker has been cooking us food for years. We have no fucking idea what's going on in this motherfucker. So we get in on that bitch. We start fucking ripping it apart. We're like, where the fuck are the screws? Do we even have a goddamn drill? Like, and then we have to look at one another and be like, how the fuck do we use this goddamn drill? Can we plug the bastard in? Where's the fucking outlet? And they didn't design the kitchen good enough to put a fucking outlet close enough to the goddamn microwave that wasn't used, but we didn't think to fucking unplug the toaster. So, we're like, well, we could have just fucking plugged in a drill and used that shit. Either way, we took the microwave apart. Let me tell you, now, for a very seemingly simple fucking device, that shit is complicated as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Now, I didn't even realize that the only thing microwaves do is heat up the water molecules in the fucking food that you're heating up, and that's what warms it. No idea. So it fucking, some pulling it apart and tearing it out. That lesson was learned years later. We tore the microwave apart. Sorry, got distracted for a second. Tore the microwave apart. My mom's name, Rhonda, walks in, looks at both of us, and I swear, sweet Jesus, like every single one of us knows the look the mom gets.
Oh, yeah.
You fucking know.
Yeah.
It's over. It's a wrap.
So then you go, this fuck. And you don't have any, and like we're in the kitchen, and it only has one way out, and she's in the way out. So you're not getting away. There's no, I'm just looking at it going like, and I can see my little brother, like, he's thinking my mom's going to fucking take me out because I'm a bigger one first, and he's going to freeze. So he's moving away from me. The microwave parts all over the fridge. And my dad walks in. He just got back from work.
Oh, no.
And I'm at this stage, I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking dead. It's a wrap. Like, I'm good. I made it a few years. I'm over. Dude walks in and looks at my mom and goes, what the fuck is going on? He's like, he never swore in front of us ever. But this one, and that's when I know I'm like, all right, yeah.
You're done.
And my mom just kind of looks at him and goes, they took the microwave apart. And my dad fucking like stone cold looks me in the eye and goes, did you figure out how it fucking worked?
That's awesome.
And I was like, no, not at all. He's like, well, you're in trouble then. And that was it. Like, if I had answered that I had known how it worked, it would have been fine. But the dude was like, you didn't learn how it worked and you took my microwave apart?
That's amazing, man. That's so funny. You know what, though? That's BK. That's so funny you mentioned that, brother. Because I'll tell you what, with all this public school bullshit, right? That's the stuff that I think a lot of guys like us would have done so much better learning as younger children than having to wait until we're in our 20s, 30s, and 40s
Absolutely.
to first face with this shit.
Yeah.
Back in the old days, my old man, he tells me stories.
Yeah.
God love him to death. He tells me stories about how his dad, right? Oh, they only had one car because that's the way it was back in that day, right? The wife stayed home. He had one car that he took to work, and you were fixing it every weekend, right? He tells me stories of laying down in the driveway in January, in the freezing cold, changing out transmissions, right? And then I'm comparing that to, and he bitches about it, but he in like a giggly kind of way, right? But there I am, I'm that same age, and I'm not allowed to touch a fucking thing around this house. Well, you tell me what's going to serve your child better by either making him sit out in that cold and change the transmission plates with you, or by making him go up and touch the DVR with your knuckle so you don't get finger grease on any of the buttons. What do you think is going to serve your kid better? You know, and I think that's so missing in all the shit we're talking about. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, the alcoholism and the yelling and the screaming that came with why he was out in January laying on the driveway is good, but you know, there's some kind of middle ground in there somewhere.
You got to find it, man. It's got to be there somewhere. Fuck it. We'll just
you know what I mean? You know, like I said, I can tell you why I'm a carpenter. I wasn't allowed to take shit apart as a kid, so I wanted to work with my hands. I knew that as young as I was.
Well, listen, guys. The wife's got some Mississippi pot roast in there waiting on me.
I didn't even realize we had gone that long.
Dude,
I didn't even get an hour and a half. This is this is terrible because I was going to spend like 15 minutes making fun of Tuck for a little bit. And then I was going to say some ridiculous shit because this is this is my premiere episode podcast. And I know it's going to be so fucking terrible. And I'm so sad that I don't get to say more ridiculous shit before we fucking get done.
This is happening again. Don't you think that this is the only? Nah, that I had an insidious. I had a little trick up my sleeve. As long as I got you to dip your toe in the water, I could get you guys to come back on.
Amen.
Be a regular spot on the show. So now
we should do this regularly. This is great.
And we will figure that out after this. We'll try to figure out the next date, but this is going to happen again. But before I wrap up, before we say our goodbyes, what I would like to do is kind of go around and have you guys just kind of share one of the things that we have to shy away from as being incredibly black-pilled. That's one of the things we got to look out for, man. So if you could talk to that dad who's out there who's struggling, who's scared right now, and give a little white pill. And Jack, we'll start with you.
Wow. That's a tough one. Because it's so easy to slip into that right now. Man, that is tough because I've been there. I can speak for myself, from my point of view. That be consistent, be fair, and gosh, black pill is so hard. You've got to keep looking up. You've got to keep looking forward. You've got to keep moving forward. And there's no perfect parent that was ever born, ever. None of us are.
Yep.
And none. And we're going to make mistakes. We're going to mess up. We're going to make different mistakes than our dads made. I can tell you, because I made it a point not to make the mistakes that my dad's made, or that my dad made, but I make my own. We have to do the best. Drew, you pointed it out earlier, and I totally agree.
We'll come back to him. We'll come back to him.
That was fucking beautiful, too.
That was beautiful.
I'm getting all like, oh no, it's just fucking pollen.
Yep. The fountain of wisdom just got shut off.
Oh, here he is. He's coming back in. Hold on.
There's a reason why he's the fucking godfather, man. There's a reason.
The next time I'm going to broadcast from the fucking McDonald's, and I will have fucking Wi-Fi. Trust me. So, what's this crazy old son of a bitch doing in here talking to himself, eating a Big Mac? So, we have to do the best we can with what we have, and we're going to make mistakes and we're going to screw up. We can't beat ourselves up too much. Don't be too hard on yourself. If you're consciously making an effort and you're truly interested in your child's, you're invested in your child's future and their life, just keep going forward. We're not going to make the best decisions all the time. You know, I don't have those answers because each situation is different. But just do the best you can with what you have. And you're going to second guess yourself a lot. That comes natural. I did. My goodness, I made mistakes. Made plenty of mistakes. But we learn from those mistakes and we move forward and we try not to make them again. And we're going to try to mold our children into the best thing possible, the best individual possible for what we're facing right now, for the society that we are in. I don't know if that answers anything or not, or if that just sounds like a drunk guy rambling. But there we are.
Good, man.
If it's not, I mean, we could do more with drunk men rambling. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say it. I'm calling it right now. I think what we've been missing in society is drunk people talking, because we've been listening to sober motherfuckers for a long time. And Drew, once again, no offense, I fucking love your shit, but I'm saying, like, all these motherfuckers in Washington, like, they seem sober all the time, because, like, honestly, if you were that drunk all the time or you're that fucked up, you'd be making good decisions too. But they just make bad decisions the entire time.
Over and over.
Like, fuck it. Sorry. Let's get back to the closing arguments.
Well, how about you? Why don't you go next, man? What's your white pill for the dad out there?
Oh, man. You know what I think is we gotta, as dads, like, we gotta remember to fucking chill out, you know, and kind of sit back. Like, we can't.
Yeah.
We try to make our kids who we want them to be. And even if you're really good about it, you still force it. And you still try to make them something that they're not. And I think that if you're, like, a good dad will step back and be like, you know what, dude, I'm just going to give you the basics. I'm going to give you the information, and then you fucking run with it. And, like, it's because it's your world. You know, like, we got to remember, I think, like, a lot of parents these days seem to get too wrapped up in what their kids are doing, or what their kids are experiencing, or what they're learning, or and it's the helicopter shit. Like, we got to remember, these little fuckers have their own life, man. You know, like, we only have a finite amount of control over what the fuck they're gonna do. And quite frankly, if you love them as much as you should love them, then you shouldn't give a fuck about controlling them. You shouldn't care about what the fuck they do. You should be like, yo, dude, just don't fucking die. Like, that's it. That is legitimately the only fucking thing. Like, I look at my kid every day and I'm like, do not fucking die. Like, let me go first. If I die on Tuesday, fucking die on Wednesday, dude. I don't give a shit, but fucking die after me. That's all. And then just fucking let them go, man. Watch them fucking and sit back and love and enjoy the experience of watching a fucking human being learn the world. Because this shit is fucking magical. Dude, like, how many weird fucking things did we all see just today? Like, just random shit where you're like, that's fucked up. You know, like, I watched a fucking jar of pickles fall off a fucking shelf in the grocery store and land fucking upright and not break. I was like, that's fucking madness. Like, what the fuck? When does that ever happen? But that's the weirdest shit. So fucking sit back and enjoy letting kids fucking grow up and see this world for what it is. Cause it's a fucking hot mess. And fuck it.
We're here. Good shit, BK. All right, Evan, what you got for us, brother?
I'll tie them both in. Going back to BK's chill out and enjoy it, and going to Jack's, you know, we're all going to make mistakes. And in that, I think what you're asking about, Drew, I think this is the thing here, right? Realizing there are other dads out there and making those connections and chilling out, enjoying it, talking about it, you know, getting that peace of mind, getting that connection with other dads who've been through it, who are going through it, who are going to go through it. We need all those stages, man. We need those. We need the Jack who's been through it. Here, let me put my finger the right way. We need the BK who's going through it.
He's over here. He's over here.
This is like the fucking Brady Bunch.
It's like a weatherman. We need all those stages, and we need to get together, man. I really believe that. You know,
yeah.
and, you know, if we can't do it geographically for now, we need to do it this way. You know, we need to build that community, that love and that support. You know, I love all three of you guys. You know what I mean? Genuinely. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And, you know, any one of you guys, you know, the support you guys have shown throughout this whole situation, as you guys know, my wife has been amazing. But we need to carry that through to when it's, you know, not just tragedy. We need to be supporting each other as dads.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where I'm at.
It's not just in the bad times, but it's in the good times too. You know.
Yeah.
Amen.
You know, because I give kudos to BK for, you know, I love his tornado post. I absolutely do. And
Yep.
I do because, you know, as a guy that's done those kinds of things, I appreciate that. I look at that and I go, man, that's awesome. That's great.
Yep.
You're letting that little guy, you're letting him run out there and you're letting him get dirty and you're letting him do stuff. And that's what needs to happen. You know, I want to tie back into mine with you, time with yours with the helicoptering thing. You know, let your children be individuals. Let them be individuals. Break them from that friggin' collectivist sheep mindset and let them be individuals. Let them learn. Let them learn the consequences, good and bad.
Right.
Good and bad consequences.
Yep.
I want to tell my one bad consequence story if I can tell it without getting dumped off.
Good luck.
Yeah. I'm living in a cave here. So, my grandpa, my mom's dad he was a carpenter and he had a sawmill, and I used to go when I was there. I would go and I was his shadow. Man, he was like Superman.
Right.
He was the man.
Yep.
So I was over at the sawmill one day with him, and I was probably 9 or 10 years old, and he had this old double bit chopping axe that was stuck there in a block of wood, and he had busted up some stuff there to throw on the fire. It was kind of cooler weather. It was in the fall, and he had a little fire built out there in front of the sawmill, and I watched him. He sharpened this axe, and you know he like you see the classic. He licked his thumb and he run it down across there to see how sharp it was when he got done. Well, he didn't stick it in the wood. He just laid it there on top of a block of wood. So I walked over and I licked my thumb and I was like, and run right down it. I still got a scar on one of my thumbs where I sliced that sumbitch wide open. He was the ultimate of letting you learn the experiences. And, you know, he was like, well, here, wrap a handkerchief around it. Don't tell your grandma, you know. So, I appreciate that, getting out there and letting them live their lives. And that's another thing that you got to do. We've got to raise individuals, and we've got to break from the collective mind hive of this is how it's got to be. This is the direction you need to go. No, you go your damn direction that's best for you. That's how you go.
Yep.
You know, and we need to teach them that.
I mean,
don't go with the wave. You go against the wave.
Yeah,
if that's what's best for you.
The wave, man. That's the thing is that I'm looking at it now. Like, I know that with the you know the age of the tornado, I know that right now it's gonna be an uphill battle. There's no way that I'm gonna ever see any agreement with any schooling, anything like that, like unless it's a private specifically designed school. For me, like I don't have any choice but homeschool or accept the fact that my kid's going to be fucked with day in and day out. I get it. So
you got to set up the stuff to protect him.
Yeah, well, that's just it. That's why I'm teaching him how to do all the other things. Because fuck it, like if he only views school as a place to just learn like the alphabet or, you know, trigonometry or anything like that, then fuck it. He just knows that it's only for the education. If he recognizes that it's not for socializing, like if he has that same base at the end where he's like, all right, this is totally separate from who I am. You know, like then I'd be like, all right, fuck it, man. You can go. Yeah. I don't know. I think it allows my train of thought because once again, I shouldn't have smoked that last bowl.
that makes total sense.
Malted hops and bong water will do that shit.
Dude, fucking every night, man. Like, the shit of it is that there's probably a fucking chance that I'm going to jump on Twitter, fucking type something down that I don't remember, and then wake up tomorrow morning and see like 20 or 30 notifications. Be like, what the fuck did I say now?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. And then like, it doesn't work and I can't fucking get in, and I'm like, oh shit, I got suspended again. And then I throw the fucker down, and I'm like, well, guess I'm fucking done with Twitter for another fucking 2 weeks until I get drawn back in by you fucking cunts, just fucking sucking me in like a bunch of fucking succubuses.
Yeah.
Well, shit.
Listen,
guys, this has been everything that I was hoping it would be. You know, and my white pill would just be to point out that, you know, there's 4 of us, and that's enough. That's enough. There's 4 of us doing this. I mean, but for real, there's
oh my gosh.
You know, hey, there's 4 of us.
If it's us 4, we're screwed.
Right,
I legitimately, Drew, I do not see how you can even get 30,
Yeah,
35 minutes out of this. Like, you might be able to like possibly put together a fucking like highlight reel, roughly 45 to 50 seconds of all of us talking. But like, there's no way you're getting a fucking episode out of this shit, because I can't legitimately like think of any part of the whole thing where anyone made any sense or duck out for like a minute before he came back with another goddamn drink. Because I don't think that was the connection. I think he was just getting them up a drink. I'm calling you out, Tuck. This is the fucking truth. You know you were doing it.
We're gonna test Drew's editing skills.
Yeah. Tough break.
You guys are in for a mistake because BK, you say you struggle with tech. I guarantee you, I ain't good enough to edit. So this son bitch is going in raw. This is going into the ether.
This is gonna be terrible. I look forward to all the fucking people like showing up and being like, "Wow, you sound like a fucking terrible human being," and I'm like, I've been fucking telling you about this shit for a while now, and you
You've been warned.
Listen, I've been fucking warning you, and now you got a fucking video recording of me being exactly fucking terrible, like I fucking told you I was. You fucking cunts.
That is great.
Drew, I just want to say, I really appreciate your enthusiasm when you break it down to us 4.
Yeah.
I love your optimism, man.
Yeah.
Because if I had to leave it up to us 4, I would have to question that shit.
Well, my mentality is there's at least 4 of us out there in the world doing this trying to do it right. There's at least 4. So,
yeah,
4 is better, hell of a lot better than 1, my brother.
Yeah, that's true. You got that right.
But anyway,
you got that right.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. And we're going to do this again soon. I don't know when. But
wait.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, like I'm in too. I'm not gonna say otherwise. How do I get out of this though? Like, what button do I press?
Oh, here. We'll wrap it up.
It says there's a little button down there. It says leave.
Hold on a second. Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah. No, thanks. It's the egg. All right. Thanks, guys. Man, that was cool.
Stuck in here for a year.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good night.
Looking, man.
Thanks, Drew.
All right, there you have it. Like I said, what a fantastic conversation. I mean, those guys are not only are they characters, but they are also men of character. You know, and that's exactly why I wanted to do this, man. That's why I invited him on, is because I look up to him. You know, my dad did the best that he could. I believe that. But unfortunately, sometimes in those situations, the best isn't good enough, you know? And so I hate to like throw out everything out there, but like, you know, it's just the way it is, man. Me and my dad don't have a great relationship. So when it comes to doing this dad thing and learning, like, I have to have men in my life who I look up to, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know? And so that's kind of why I really wanted to make this episode, is because there's bound to be some people out there who are in the same boat that I am. And I hope this serves as a kind of a, you know, what the hell am I trying to say? Guiding light, of some sort. If nothing else, at least there's other men that are out there in this country right now today going through the same struggles that you're going through. And it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to mess up. But I think the important thing for us to do is kind of find our people, right? And learn from them, be around them. What's the old adage? Iron sharpens iron. And so, that's what this conversation was about. And like I said, these guys will be coming back and doing another episode. October 20th is when we have the date set, so it should be about a week after that or so. And I don't know what we're going to talk about yet, Who knows? That remains to be seen. But anyways, I hope that if nothing else, especially at the end of that conversation, what we wanted you to walk away with was a sense of hope. Right now, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on out there, guys. Like, it's really easy to take the black pill and not see any hope and just live in this kind of doom mentality. And it doesn't have to be that way. There is hope out there. There's good people still having good experiences. And that's not to say keep your head in the sand. Absolutely keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on around you. But don't get so enamored in the bad that you neglect the good, right? So anyways, I love all of you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I couldn't think of a better song to play for the end of this episode than Uncle Lucius, Keep the Wolves Away. This is just one of those songs that talks about, like a hardworking dad providing for his family, keeping the bad negative forces of the world just from coming in and taking everything away. And so, I hope you guys enjoy this. Hope this whole episode put a smile on your face, and we will see y'all next week.
Took my first breath where the muddy rises, spills into the Gulf of Mexico, where the skyline's colored by chemical plants that put bread on the table of the working man, where the working man does his best to provide safety and shelter for kids and a wife, giving a little of his soul every day, making overtime keep the wolves away. I was barely 13 when the company man tried to dig my daddy's grave. It happened on a French-owned tanker ship, spilling poison in the Galveston Bay, where the liquid fire filled his lungs and his eyes silenced any more cries. Cold in the grave, with death stinging pain, he fought like hell to keep the wolves away. Dad was sick as a dog, but he made a recovery just to spite the odds. The settlement came and we moved out of town, where the sky isn't heavy with refinery clouds. Yeah, he's still alive, he's doing good, he's in his 50s, but the money's running out and he's pinching for pennies. So I'm going for broke with every song I play, 'cause now it's my turn to keep the wolves away.